All right, let's do this. These are my
Top 20 live albums
of all time. They're mine. They might not be yours. I had to cut out a bunch of my favorites on top of it because there's just so many great live albums. This is where I'm at today.
Number 20.
The Allman Brothers, live at the Fillmore. You can't get any more classic live album than that. That's one of their biggest albums. Around these parts in Atlanta, if you turn on the radio, you'd hear Whippin' Post probably more than you would hear Ramblin' Man. It was released just before Dwayne died, a couple months, I believe, in 1971.
Number 19.
The Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones. Get your yayas out. You can't get more classic era Stones than this. You know, it's got Mick Taylor on guitar. It's right around Sticky Fingers era and before Exile. This is like a time where, you know, this is one of like the first really big arena tours. Like it just started happening in the early 70s where you could like have a proper PA and not do what the Beatles did at Shea Stadium and just run through the intercom. So from that time, we capture one of the great live albums of all time at Madison Square Garden.
Number 18.
5 Live Yardbirds. Early recording of the Yardbirds. Pre-Page, pre-Beck. Eric Clapton on guitar. The guitar sounds amazing, and he just tears it up. This is one of my favorite Eric Clapton recordings because he's just like got that fire of youth.
Number 17.
The Grateful Dead, Europe 72. 72 seems like a big time for live albums. The Dead, they have a handful of live albums. I mean, they have a million live albums because they allow people to tape them, but this is like one of the official live album releases. It's just one of my favorites. You know, you can really get into it.
Number 16.
Nirvana, From the Muddy Banks of the Wickshaw. Nirvana is such a great live band. They had so much power. The Unplugged album was so huge, but you don't get that part of Nirvana that is just so crucial, which is the power. And I love Unplugged, how it scales everything down and you get to hear those songs bare bones, but I would much rather hear the fury that Nirvana possesses.
Number 15.
Cheap Trick, live at Budokan. Cheap Trick's albums up to this point, they hadn't really they didn't have as much of an impact as this live album did. This really kind of blew the doors open on their whole career. It's got the definitive version of I Want You to Want Me. The album version is a little more like a rockabilly. This is like gung-ho rock balls.
Number 14.
We're gonna get off the path of the early 70s and get to Bad Brains. The youth are getting restless. Bad Brains also have a bunch of live albums, but a lot of them are pre-Eye Against Eye. This one has got a nice mix of everything. It's good and long, and they're just hitting it hard all the way through.
Number 13.
Deep Purple, Made in Japan. Classic, an unbelievable version of Highway Star and Child in Time. If you want to just totally scramble your brains with emotion, check out the Made in Japan version of Child in Time.
Number 12.
Skinner, One More from the Road, the album that saved the Fox Theater and introduced us to Steve Gaines and Cassie Gaines. You get to hear Steve Gaines rip it up on all the previous Skinner songs that he wasn't in the band for. And just knowing that it's from the Fox just kind of like warms my heart. I love the Fox.
Number 11.
Humble Pie performance from the Fillmore. This is another instance where the live album supersedes the studio albums. This is like where we get a lot of the definitive Humble Pie versions. 4-Day Creep, I Don't Need No Doctor, and they released a longer, complete version, which is like a couple hours long. Really good. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and if you want to donate to the channel, there's a link below.
Number 10.
I've listened to this album so much. Yes Songs from the 1973 Close to the Edge tour. This album's got everything you would want from those classic 3 Yes albums, like the real heavy hitters. Yes album, Fragile, Close to the Edge. There's a couple songs that have Bill Bruford playing drums, like Long Distance Runaround. He plays on one other one. But Alan White is freshly in the band. You get to hear like the coronation of Alan White on the drums in the Yes outfit. I wish this album sounded a little bit better. It's really just, straight off the board kind of a thing. They didn't have individual tracks that they could go and remix after the fact, or we would have seen it already.
Number 9. Number 9.
The Who, live at Leeds. What can you say about that? They are just at the peak of their powers, playing at Leeds University. I always thought when I heard the title as a kid, Leeds, they were talking about guitar leads. It fits in there. It gives you that subliminal message of guitar leads. And boy, does it have tons of guitar leads. Pete Townsend, he probably solos on this album more than any other album.
Number 8.
David Bowie. Bowie at the Beeb. David Bowie playing at the BBC through a number of years. So it starts out with his like early career stuff before he became like the star man. So you get some nice flavor of his early stuff, and it progresses right into the classic era Bowie, Ziggy Stardust, and Hunky Dory stuff. And it's got some great covers, like I'm Waiting for the Man.
Number 7.
Black Flag, Who's Got the 10.5? This was recorded at the end of their career. And I have to say, this album, it sounds so good. It's like so much better sounding than any of their studio albums. I don't think anyone can disagree that Black Flag, they just didn't have that one studio album that just captured what they do. But the live albums do. The 1984 Black Flag live album, but that one doesn't sound as good as Who's Got the 10.5. There's a little bit of a lineup difference in Who's Got the 10.5 because Bill Stevenson isn't playing drums anymore. It is Anthony Martinez, and he is so good, and the drums just sound so good, and it's a really fun album to listen to.
Number 6.
Neil Young, live at the Fillmore. This was released, 10 or 15 years ago as part of the Neil Young Vaults. I think it was the first of those releases. But it's great. It's like, sounds like it's right after Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere. Danny Whitten is still in the band. Yeah, you can hear the joy in the music, that they know they've tapped into something, and it's just got a great song selection and sounds great. Neil sounds great.
Number 5.
Band of Gypsys, of course. But oddly enough, it's not with The Experience. It's with the Band of Gypsys, recorded on New Year's Eve of 1969. I'm pretty sure, that's at the Fillmore too. It's got 6 songs, and some of them are nice and long, extended versions. There wasn't really, this kind of, I don't think there's a real Band of Gypsys studio release. This is like what we got from the Band of Gypsys. This is this incredible live album. And Hendrix, he's just talking up a storm with those fingers. Machine Gun. But my favorite track is the first track, They Don't Know. It's just got a killer like octave fuzz solo at the end. When you see the concert footage of it, it's almost like you can see that Hendrix is annoyed with Buddy Miles, because he's just like strutting his singing prowess, and I almost get the feeling that Hendrix is like, okay, we know you can sing, dude. Let me sing. I'm the guy. We're getting down to it.
Number 4.
Led Zeppelin. The BBC Sessions. Yeah, interesting choice, Fran. You went with the BBC. I mean, I can include all the Zeppelin live albums. But I like the BBC one because that second disc or second album, the way it starts out with the Immigrant Song, into Heartbreaker, into Since I've Been Loving You, and then Black Dog, it's just killer. It sounds great, and they're tearing it up. Song Remains the Same, that's amazing too. It's just that I like this other BBC one better. How can you go wrong? This is serious stuff, and this is getting right down to, this is my list. Sorry. You can pipe in on the comments and tell me your suggestions and things that I missed. I'm sure I probably had to cross a few things off that people are like, why isn't he mentioning? But
At number 3.
Little Feat, Waiting for Columbus. This is just a killer album, and again, it's like the definitive Little Feat album. Little Feat was produced by Ted Templeman, and they put out a bunch of great albums in the 70s, but they all just kind of like a little bit missed the mark. It just, nothing quite captures what Little Feat does like this live album. The first time I heard it, it blew my mind, especially the version of Dixie Chicken. It's a good, like, 15 minutes long and then goes right into another song. Great, just great guitar work, great band. The drums, Richie Hayward is just fantastic. Just a great selection of songs. The original version is missing Rock and Roll Doctor, which came out on the extended version, Little Feat, Waiting for Columbus. Love that album.
Number 2.
What's it gonna be? Jane's Addiction, the live album. This put them on the radar and showed us what an amazing killer band Jane's Addiction is. But especially at that time, 1987, this was like a big deal in my life. The Jane's Addiction first album.
And number 1.
Yeah, what's it gonna be? There's a few that I haven't mentioned, and so some of them are gonna get left out. But my number 1
is Rush. Exit stage left.
Oh my God. These guys, they're just amazing, and I love how dedicated they are to the album versions. You know, outside of like the extendo solos, like the drum solo, I mean, there's no album version of that, but it's like, you know, Neil Peart, he plays it like the album because he knows that he created a song within a song on the drums, and the same for the other guys, you know. The solos, Alex Lifeson solos are very true to the original album versions. And the record just sounds great. We're getting Rush at that point where they had just like exploded from moving pictures. Thank God for that. And that's it. That's my top 20 live albums. Desert Island live albums that I could not live without, from 20 to 1. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment. And if you want to donate to the channel, there's a link below. My name's Fran Capitanelli. We'll see you next time.